We don't have these questions were not answered in the trial, believe it or not. I listened to the whole thing. Who were the techs that changed the settings? I don't know who they work for. Who are these people? Was it one tech or multiple techs? It sounds like it was multiple techs, not confirmed. What company are they contracted with? Did they change global settings that affected multiple voting centers, or was it just one place? Did they change like global settings that affected like a ton of voting centers, or was it all these different chat techs going in, logging in, and doing it independently? I did not get an answer to that. We still don't know the scope of how many ballots were affected. Don't know the answer to that. There is no way a court should let someone who has admitted gross error, that's Maricopa County, they admitted, you heard the lawyer, somebody went in, changed shrink to fit, you heard Scott Jarrett, that is an error, that is a mistake. There's no way that they should be able to say, okay, we made that mistake, but trust us, it was still counted. Plus, the counting was outside of the scope. I just don't know if the lawyer should have objected or what. If I were the judge, if I'm the judge, I wouldn't even do a ruling. I would say, the defense made an accusation that, not a bad one of themselves, that we counted this vote through the tabulation. So here's what I want y'all to do. I want another inspection just on those ballots. Then come back to me and I'll see what we do. Clay, the guy who did the inspection on Tuesday, saw issues with the security of the ballots, and specifically with Maricopa County not keeping the original ballots connected to the duplicates to ensure they are the same. Maricopa, by the way, uses that company that begins with the letter D. I just threw that in there. I'm not making any allegations. Katie Hobbs is, you can call her my overlord god, governor of Arizona, next president, vice president candidate, whatever. YouTube, you tell me what I call her. That's what she is. I'm not going against you. I'm just having a conversation. Really, seriously, this is about the future. This is about other states learning from this. There's a lot here to learn from, and I have a optimistic ending. At least I think it is. So Mr. Park testified Maricopa didn't have the duplicates connected. He says it's a U.S. election. This is the EAC Assistance Commission. They require that, and it sounds like that was violated. They sounds like this was they broke Arizona law, is what it sounds like. I'm not a lawyer. These are the duplicated ballots, Maricopa County. The ones he's talking about here are the same duplicated ballots that Maricopa County wants you to say, hey, they're counted anyway.
Were some of the ballots that you inspected duplicated ballots?
Yes, sir, they were.
And what are duplicated ballots?
Duplicated ballots are when there's an issue with the ballot and it cannot be ran through the tabulation system. Therefore, it is duplicated, and then that duplication is run through the system.
And is that duplication then the ballot that is actually tabulated and counted?
Yes, sir. The way the process works is the original ballot has to have the duplication ID attached to it, which Maricopa did. The part where they filled in the statute.
Let me stop that again. This is the part that they did do when he saw, just on the small sample that he saw.
Works is the original ballot has to have the duplication ID attached to it, which.
So you have the original ballot and then the ID to say that one isn't the one that went through the tabulation. We have to keep a record now of the one with the ID that actually went through the tabulation, just in case there's an audit, so we can make sure they match up.
The original ballot has to have the duplication ID attached to it, which Maricopa did. The part where they filled in the statute is according to the standards, that duplication ballot is supposed to be easily relatable to the original ballot. They said they could not find let me correct that. They could not find the duplicated ballot, which was tabulated.
So he said they couldn't find the duplicated ballot that was tabulated. Those are the same ballots that the Maricopa County, the fat ass, I apologize for that, that lawyer said, and the reason why I have lost my verbiage there a little bit is how disgusting is it for that lawyer to make it sound like you're a buffoon for going on the day that we set up to choose our people to represent us. Like you were some type of buffoon when they dropped the ball. He said, don't worry, we dropped the ball. They counted anyway. He looked at a small sample and said they couldn't find the ones you put through the tabulator.
Easily relatable
Not a one in the sample that he got.
to the original ballot. They said they could not find let me correct that. They could not find the duplicated ballot, which was tabulated.
So you inspected the original ballot that was duplicated.
Yes, sir.
And do I understand correctly that under your understanding of Arizona law is that the duplicate ballot and the original ballot are supposed to be maintained together physically?
Yes, sir. That's the EAC requirement. That's a standard when duplication is done.
And
because they're together. They're one and the same. You can't separate the copy. It's basically a copy of the original. They should be together.
the duplicate ballot, which is the ballot that was counted,
Yes, sir.
was not available for you to inspect because of that.
No, sir, it was not.
Wow.
Why would there be, could you tell me again why there might be a duplicated ballot situation?
It would be because it was physically damaged. I did see torn ballots. They could have coffee stains on them. They could have ink marks, or they could just be improperly configured. George, I've been a classified courier, which means I'm authorized.
So I cut through to now he's talking about the security aspect. He's like, I've been a courier for classified information, worked with the military, it sounds like DOD, whatever agency, government. So I know how to transport things securely. I know how things should be kept securely. And he's going to say they weren't secure. So on top of it, they didn't have the duplicates right there like they should have with the original ballot. Then on top of that, he's seen all kinds of security issues.
To transport classified information. As a forensic investigator, I fully understand chain of custody. And what I will cite is that the facility and the security and chain of custody at the vault and the tabulation center are highly inaccurate, and those ballots could be tampered with. They should be sealed and appropriate actions. For example, security seals were only placed on the boxes that we inspected, and that was due to the court order, and they wanted to ensure that the proper security was done.
So that's what he's saying. So no, you can't. And for me, and I'm not making any accusations, again, Katie Hobbs is certified. She's going to be the next. I'm sure you're excited about that, Arizona. Sorry about Fenwick chick or friend of the show. I haven't talked to her in a while. AZ Patriot. I'm sorry to say that, but she will be the next governor. But you see that's a problem. We can learn from that in other elections. This is not, and I'm going to get to a take here and kind of wrap it up. This is not how a group of officials act organically. There's no way that Bill Gates, Stephen Richer, Scott Jarrett, Katie Hobbs et al. Are just coincidentally on the same page. Can you think about a company that you might work with or work for? If this type of stuff was going down and I'm in a different department, say I'm in charge of early voting, not in charge of the day that you pick people. I'm not going to be on board with this. I'm going to be like, I don't know what that dude is doing. I'll testify. I'm not going to testify against necessarily, or you could. I'll testify truthfully. I'm not going to go down for his issue. But they're all lockstep. Satan, they sound the same. They act the same. They say the same thing. That's not organic. You know, in an organic situation, I know this sounds crazy, but you would have an official somewhere saying, I don't like what I see. I'm going to volunteer information. Maricopa County could have volunteered that they knew about this shrink to fit issue. They could have volunteered that the same day they found out about it. They could have volunteered it before the inspection. Maricopa County is not They're not supposed to be married to Katie Hobbs or a certain political party or covering their ass. Everybody should be like on their own independent level. Like, I don't know what he did. I didn't do anything, so you're gonna have to clean that up. I didn't get into public service to be a part of something that's been so shoddy. My team has been run tight. Everybody shouldn't be on the same page. We're seeing the same groupthink that we've seen in all other walks of American life. This is the same groupthink that brought along slavery. This is the same groupthink that brought along the pandemic and the response to it. This is the same groupthink and this one political party that leads it with the corporate Republicans along with them, like your Ronna McDaniels, your Meghan McCain, your Jeb Bush, all the ones that like Ron DeSantis. I digress. The same ones that brought you Jim Crow. The same ones that give you the Rainbow Coalition. The same ones that said you had to support Black Lives Matter. It's the same groupthink. Same groupthink of Twitter. Same as Google. Same as Big Tech. After all that, the Maricopa County lawyer, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, this is how it came across to me, my opinion, and I'm not a lawyer, it sounded like the Maricopa County lawyer was saying, how dare you try to dig this deep into our election? We are saving this is my opinion. He did not say this. It comes across to me as, I'm going to give you what he said so you can listen to it. Like, we're saving democracy. No lawyer should be representing people like Carrie Lake. And it came across as an indirect threat to the judge, to me. He's going to say, this lawyer from Maricopa County, in his closing, this is how he started. Katie Hobbs' lawyer did a 15-minute close. He did a 5-minute. He started his 5 minutes trying to diss Mike Lindell as the My Pillow guy because Clay Perrick had worked with him or worked for him. And then basically brought up sanctions and was indignant about how this lawsuit came up on here. And to me, that's saying, Judge, if you side with them, you're a wackadoo. You're a My Pillow guy. You're a MAGA. It's so close to saying you're a bigot if you side with them. And not only that who knows if your career is over.
Their star witness, Parikh, gives freebies to the Prince of Stop the Steal. That's the pillow guy. That
had nothing to do with the trial. He's trying to go against his credibility because he worked for Mike Lindell, the guy who's super credible, worked with the government, knew exactly what he was talking about.
Their star witness, Parikh, gives freebies to the Prince of Stop the Steal. That's the pillow guy. That's bias. And we trust this court will be able to recognize true bias, perceived bias, and weigh and rule accordingly. Candidates are allowed to say anything
We trust the court that you'll rule. This guy's a My Pillow guy, Judge. We trust that you will the Democratic Party is no more different than a mob. I just did a video about Kirsten Sinema and how she left them. You can't leave the mob. They will go after you. And that's the same thing here. We trust you. He's a My Pillow guy. We trust you, Judge. You wouldn't be stupid now, would you? You like your job, right? That's what it came across to me.
gives freebies to the Prince of Stop the Steal. That's the
How does the judge, I don't even know the rules. A judge allows this?
their star witness, Parikh, gives freebies to the Prince of Stop the Steal. That's the pillow guy. That's bias. And we trust this court will be able to recognize true bias, perceived bias, and weigh and rule accordingly. Candidates are allowed to say anything they want out in the town common, and they'll be held responsible by the voters. Not true with lawyers who come in courtrooms in the state of Arizona. There's an obligation. Every lawyer is obligated to interview his or her clients, his or her witnesses, and make sure they know what they're going to say. And if it's not true, can't present it to the court. It's an ethical violation.
An ethical violation. He's accusing Carrie Lake's representation. You wonder why the J6 prisoners can't get good representation. Even Trump struggled. Kerry Lake will struggle. Abe Hamadeh, Mark Fincham, anybody else. He says it's an ethical. For what? You were the one that withheld information.
And make sure they know what they're going to say. And if it's not true, can't present it to the court. It's an ethical violation.
If what's not true?
And if what exists for their testimony is not enough to meet the burden, the case should not be brought.
I saw enough.
And so, Your Honor, once you rule, we will be back seeking ARS 12349 sanctions and Rule 11 sanctions.
They're looking for sanctions. Some of the sanctions were, let me look up Rule 11. Some of the other sanctions were just they want the legal fees for the county recouped. And what is Rule 11 Arizona sanctions? I wonder if that's ethical. Rule 11, signing pleadings motion. So I think that's another paying back. So I'm not sure if the lawyer is saying, because he said ethical. So I don't know if he has the power to. I don't know how the law works in that way. But I do have a white pill. I was on with Jen and Ron Placone, which is dope, man. It's dope seeing him on. He's not on with Jimmy Dore anymore, but to be on a stream with him was pretty cool, even though we're on different political spectrums. I said white pill, and he didn't know what that meant, and a lot of people don't. And that's internet geekdom. I got to explain it. Optimism. That's all it is. I'm optimistic because you saw what happened in the last general. Can't even talk about it on YouTube. And in this midterm, you're seeing what's happened with Miss Lake. We've made progress. We've got under oath. To my knowledge, I don't know. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a while since I went through the Arizona audit. I don't know if anybody was under oath. Maybe there was a couple people under oath. I have to look if they testified to the state legislative body under oath. I do not remember. But this was a court of law. Like that wasn't. I don't think there was no legal kind of stuff there. That was all in front of the legislative body. This was in the court of law. We're making progress. This weasel had to come out the second day and admit the information he withheld. That's a good thing. Now, I get it. At this pace, it's only going to be 20, 60, 70 before things look better. But who knows if that pace is exponential growth. So it might happen quicker than you think. When you get into a courtroom, the grift is over. There's no more, you don't get to block people on Twitter. You don't get to complain to Twitter to get somebody blocked. You don't get to mass report anybody. You don't get to just spit out ad hominems with no retort. You're under oath. There's no lying. Now you have to tell us what's going on. Let's go. This is a bipartisan thing. Election integrity. I don't care if you like, I'm obviously a big Kerry Lake fan. I would like her to get off of this and have a sit down with the big guy. Well, not Biden, but sit down with Don Dada and say, big guy, you're not the 10% for the big guy, but you big guy, you McDonald's eating big guy. I want you to say that you're not feeling well and step out. We need somebody different for this one. I know that's not going to happen, but that's how highly I think of Kerry Lake. If you don't, it doesn't matter. And if you don't, you're probably libertarian or populist left, because if you do, then you're Katie Hobbs, you're John Fetterman establishment. If you care about election integrity, if you want a candidate that's libertarian or a real populist left, whoever that is, I don't even know who that is right now, a legit candidate populist left who's against war, I don't know if they exist. But if you want one, you're going to go through the same problems that Kerry Lake had. Maybe even worse. There's nothing that group, that mob with the D Democrats, there's nothing worse that they hate than somebody on the left who's trying to be a populist. Somebody who left them who's trying to do something else. Let's go. Well, I can't wait to see it. I think this makes it more difficult for them to do stuff in the future. Thanks a lot for taking a listen to the series. I think that's it on the trial. There was other people who testified, but in my opinion, they weren't even relevant. Even Stephen Richer didn't really play that big of a role in this. Richard Barris did not to me. None of the ones the defense called other than Jarrett played a role. It was all about Miss Heather Honey. That's a hell of a name. Heather Honey, Chris, and Clay Parrick, and who else? I think, are those the only two that... Yeah, and then Scott Jarrett. That's all the trial came down to, so I won't, do breakdowns of the other ones, but let me know what you think. By the time this upload, we'll know the judgment, but let's just put this up on YouTube for just the sake of history. Take care.
Now, the most important thing is we got to bring him back. No, I'm not talking about who you think, but I do agree with you on that. We've got to bring him back. When we kicked God out, that is when our troubles began. And we got to invite God back into our culture. We've got to invite God back into our homes. And we have got to invite God back into our hearts. Because let me tell you something, God is on our side. And with God's help, we will win this and we will save this republic. Because when you have God on your side and you have America First policies, we are all going to live a better life because of that.